Hello friends, welcome back to my YouTube channel Oracle DB online training. So today I'll be guiding you through standby database concepts, and we will look at various aspects about the Oracle data guards. And before we begin, I'll request all the new friends to please subscribe my YouTube channel. On this YouTube channel, you are already getting lots of learning, and I hope you are enjoying these videos. Like previously, we have covered how to create a two-node rack database, standby database. But from that, there are so many things you can learn, like Oracle rack installation, database upgradation, and all those stuff. So I'll request all the new friends to please subscribe, and I will start with the session. Okay. So let's start this session and see what all the topics are there. Okay. So today's agenda is conceptual knowledge about standby database, that is a data guard. Okay, so we will be covering these topics, that is introduction to the session, and then we have data guard configuration, different types of standby. So all these topics we will be covering, and let's start with the introduction of this topic, that is Oracle Data Guard introduction. So a data guard basically it ensures the high availability and data protection along with your disaster recovery for enterprise data. And Oracle Data Guard basically provides the survival strategy, and it's basically survives the disaster and the data corruptions in case of any issue happen on the production side. Then you can basically use a data guard as your alternate to your availability and for other purposes. Okay, and then we have the in order to minimize the downtime, you can use your data guard. And the basic idea behind the downtime, to minimizing the downtime, is basically you can, using the standby database, you can switch over and perform the maintenance operation on the your production sites, and maybe once your activity is over on the production side, then you can switch back to your original production. So these are like some of the benefits of using the Oracle data guards. Okay, and the next part is your Oracle data guard, that can be basically used for performing some backup operation, and you can basically take the backups, and using the clustering technology, you can provide the high level of data protection as well as data availability. Okay, so these are the some of the benefits of using your data guard. And next thing is like basically you can improve the production database performance by offloading the resource intensive backups and the reporting operation to the standby database. So basically using the active data guard feature, you can perform the database reporting operations from the standby sites. And apart from that, you can perform some intensive backups. And okay, so these are the first part, that is the introduction. The next part is a Oracle data guard configuration. So we have this traditional architecture, you can say. We have the primary database along with the standby database. So a redo transmits happens from the production to the standby sides. Okay, so all the changes that is happening on the production will be reflecting, it will be basically transferred through a redo stream. And on the standby sides, if you have the standby redo log, so from the standby redo log, it will apply those changes to the standby database. Okay, so this is your typical Oracle data guard configuration, you can say. And the next thing is you have this, you can basically use, you can manage your primary standby database using, so the configuration can be done in various way, and one of the ways using the SQL commands or SQL command line interface, or you can use the data guard broker. Okay, so data guard broker is basically a consists of a DGMGRL utility through which you can manage it. Apart from that, you can use your Oracle Enterprise Manager Cloud Control. So I have covered all those different topics, such as how to configure a data guard broker, and how to use Oracle Enterprise Manager to create a standby database or manage a standby database. So you can get those links in the description. I have provided everything on the description, and you can follow those videos, and you can even perform these operations. Okay, so the logic behind data guard configuration is very simple, that you can use this different utility to make data guard configuration. Okay, so the next part in this segment is basically a data guard configuration can contain one primary database and up to 30 destinations of a standby database. And in data guard configuration, a primary database and standby database can be either a single instance or the rack database. Okay, so we have already shown you how you can basically create a single instance physical standby database or the rack database standby database. So if you want, you can learn it. I've already shared those videos. So this is basically a conceptual knowledge, so I'm covering those topics. Okay, so you can refer my previous video about how you can create a single instance physical standby database or rack standby database. Okay, so let's move to the next part, that is what are the different types of standby databases. So basically we have three different types of standby database. One is called physical standby database, and the next one is called logical standby database, and the third one is snapshot standby database. Okay, so in this segment we have the first standby database, that is a physical standby database, most widely used standby database. And whenever we talk about physical standby database, it is nothing but an identical copy of your production primary database, as a name itself suggests, and its structure is basically identical to your primary database, block for block basis. Okay, and a physical standby database is kept synchronized with a primary database through redo apply stream. Okay, so using the redo apply options, you can basically make your physical standby database in sync with your primary database. Okay, and the next part is from 11.1 we have this feature called a physical standby database can basically receive and apply redo when database is read only access. Okay, so this feature is basically called active standby database. So your standby database will be up and running, and now you can even apply those redo which is coming from the production sites. Okay, and then we have the next part, that is the physical standby database can therefore be used in concurrent for the data protection as well as for reporting. That means you are using the database in read-only mode and you are applying those changes in the real time. So by using that, you can basically perform the real-time reporting operation as well as the data protection. Okay, so let's move to the next part, that is a logical standby database. So a logical standby database basically it is basically a logical information of your production database, but the physical organization and structure can be different. Basically what happens in case of logical standby database, whatever the changes are there on the production, they will come as a redo, and then the actual apply will happen as a SQL apply operation. Okay, so if you can see, it is basically applying those changes in terms of SQL apply. That means you can generate a SQL statement and you can make those changes as per your requirements. So it will be not a replicate of your production, but yes, using SQL statement, you can modify some changes you can do on the standby database sites, and then you can make the apply to happen. Then we have we have the flexibility of logical standby database lets you to upgrade your Oracle database software, that is patch sets and the new Oracle database release to perform the other database maintenance in the rolling fashion with almost no downtimes. That means there are some advantages also related to logical standby database. So you can basically perform the patching operations and other maintenance operations in rolling fashion by using the logical standby database. Okay. Also, using the logical standby database for the query and as well as the reporting operation, you can use logical standby data, which is similar to your physical standby database. Okay. So let's move to the next part, that is snapshot standby database. Basically a snapshot standby database, basically a fully updatable standby database. So it is like a physical or the logical standby database. So like a physical and logical standby database, a snapshot standby database receives and archives redo data from the primary side, but unlike the you have this physical or logical standby database where you are applying those changes on the production. On snapshot standby database, this is not happen. So all the archives will be received, but they will be not getting applied until and unless you are switching back to your physical standby database. Okay, that means you are just temporarily converted your physical standby database into the snapshot standby database. The main purpose behind this changes are basically to perform the you can say temporary or the updatable snapshot database. So if you want to perform some real-time testing on your system, so this is the best way of doing it. So you have created one physical standby database and you want to perform the real-time testing with the similar amount of data, and that's why the snapshot standby database is very crucial and helpful whenever we are doing this kind of operations like RAT testing, that is Oracle Real Application Testing, as well as replay. Okay. So apart from real application testing, you can also perform some insert or delete, or I mean, there are anything you can do on that's like a real-time production database, which can be rolled back after converting it back to the physical standby database. That's the advantage of using the snapshot standby database. Okay. I hope you guys are getting what I'm mentioning on this slide. So I hope you are enjoying it. Okay. So if you are new to my YouTube channel, please subscribe it. So let's move to the next part. That is Oracle Active Data Guard. That is nothing but a part of your standby database type. Okay. So we have this. You can say that. Apart from your earlier version of Oracle standby database, we used to have this limitation of you can only apply the redo logs when your database is in mount stage. But from 11G R1 onwards, we have this feature called Oracle Active Data Guards. By using Oracle Active Data Guard features, you can basically apply the all the redos information on the from which is received from the production database in real time, and by using that, you can basically perform the real time query. And this feature is basically called the Oracle Active Data Guard. Okay, so. And basically this real-time active data guard is basically it requires Oracle licensing. So that means you have to purchase this feature from the Oracle database. Okay, and also you can use any application on active data guard, and that is basically used for performing some for doing only the query purpose. So if there is any application which is basically a select query related application, so you can use that feature and you can basically perform the select or query operation from the standby database. Also, Active Data Guard can work in both ways to recover the corrupted blocks, and it basically a zero data loss can be achieved through the Active Data Guards. And you can all load off the EXPDP jobs to the standby database. Also, you can schedule the RMN jobs on the standby database with a real-time queries. That means you can perform so many things using Oracle Data Guard, Active Data Guard features. And apart from that, you can basically monitor active session history also. Okay, so this is about Oracle Active Data Guards. So let's move to the next segment. So we have Active Data Guard versus normal standby database, what you can do and how it looks like for using the Active Data Guard and a normal database. Okay, so we have this first diagram which is showing as normal standby database. So here you can see that we have the primary database and the standby database. Okay. All right. So basically, if you are using it as a normal standby database, so you are performing all these tasks like backups and real-time query operations, and all those steps are happening on the production sides. Okay, so there is like a load is too much on the primary sides, and you cannot do anything apart from like um, struggling. Okay, so it's creating a huge problem for critical systems. Okay, so what you can do is you can basically offload this task like backups and real-time query, and you can just move these things on the standby sides. Okay, so using the real-time query applies. Okay, so you can use these queries to identify whether you are performing the real time. I mean, your database is using active data guard feature or not. So basically, we have these two queries that you can use to verify it using them from the either from the primary side or standby side. So, okay. So in order to perform it on the primary side, basically you have to get it verified using the v$archive_dest_status. So from that, you can verify whether your destination 2 or the 3 or whatever the destination ID will be. You can verify whether it is that database is up and running in read read only or not. Okay, and apart from that, we have this mode also, that is a real time apply. Okay, that means your standby database is running in real time apply mode. That is your active data guards, and we also you can run this query on the standby database also and get it verified. Okay, so that's the thing about the active data guard versus normal standby database. So let's move to the next part, and so we have this parsing instances. Okay, so a parsing instance basically it is like a remote Oracle data guard destination that can accept a redo from the primary database, and then it shifts that redo to the member of the Oracle data guard configuration. That means there is like an intermediate instance is available, which is basically receiving a redo from the primary sites, and then it is passing to the standby database. Okay, so parsing instance basically manages it has the control file which receives the redo into the standby redo logs. Okay, and the archives those standby redo logs to the local archive redo logs, but that is where the similarity with the standby ends. Okay, so it will not basically the idea is it will receive those archives from the production sites, and then it will archive on the its local destinations. Okay, and once that is done, then it will basically start shipping those archives to the standby side. So it is like intermediate kind of things basically in some of the real high availability case scenarios. The people uses this feature called the parsing instances. So it's like an intermediate kind of thing that can you can use intermediate instance which basically receives the archives in its standby redo log files, and then it will archive those into the local standby redo logs. And once that is done, then it will basically ship those archives to the standby database. Okay, it will not apply anything on its on standby database. Okay, so parsing instance basically it will not apply any changes on its system, and parsing instance does not have any data files. Okay, so basically it will have just a control file information, and it will not contain any data file. Okay, so it cannot be opened for the access and cannot run redo apply. That's the logic, and can never function in the primary role or to be converted to any types of standby database. Okay, so it's like a null database with only control file, and basically the idea is basically to get the archives from the primary sites and then shipping it back to the standby database. So in some of the situation, what happens is like if your standby database is too far away, and those archive shipping, and then again getting back the results from the. So on those scenarios, this parsing basically comes into the picture. So you have created one parsing instance near to your production database, and you are just getting those archives from the production, and then later you are sending it to the actual standby database. Okay, so that's the for parsing instance. So the next part is what are the different data services available whenever we talk about data guard. So we have this redo transport service. One is called apply service, and the last one is the role transitions. So basically, data guard services are divided in these three categories, and so we'll look at the first part, that is a redo transport service. So a redo transport service basically consists of redo transmit and manage and detects. Okay. So whenever we talk about redo transport service, so we have already seen how archives are getting generated on the production, and then it gets transmitted to the standby sites. Okay. So a redo transport service can controls the automated transfer of redo data from production to one or more archival destinations. Okay, then the next segment is like transmit the redo data from the primary system to the standby database system in the configuration. Okay, so it will transmit all the archives to the mentioned destinations. Okay, and next part is managing the process, manage the process of resolving any gaps. So we have basically a manage as a sub service of redo transport service, which will basically use for resolving the gaps in from the production to the standby database. So if you see any issues like a network failure or some due to some region, if there is a gap, so using the managed service, we can resolve those gaps. So basically, a redo transport service is divided in these four subcategories, like collecting the redos, then transmitting, then managing. If there is a gap, so it will resolve those gaps. And last part is the detect. So basically, a detect is nothing but automatically detecting the missing or the corrupted redo archive logs from on the standby systems, and automatically retrieve replacement for the archive redo log files from the primary database or any available standby database. Okay, so this is the logic behind the redo transport service. Okay, and the next part is apply service. So so far we have talked about redo transmit services. Okay, so redo was shipped to your standby database. Now comes the apply part. So we have the apply service. Basically, it automatically apply the redo data on the standby database, maintain the consistency with your primary database, and the redo data is basically transmitted from the primary database and returned to the standby redo log files and on the standby database. So once the apply services allows the read only access to the database. Okay, the main difference between the physical and logical standby database is in manner which the apply service works. So the sole idea behind apply service is basically receiving the archives and applying those changes on the standby database. So here we have the physical standby versus logical standby database. So if you can see on the left side, we have this physical standby database where all these archives are getting transmitted. So using the redo transport services, these archives are basically getting shipped to the standby sites, and now it is getting applied through the redo apply option. That is nothing but your managed recovery services. Okay, managed recovery is happening. Then we have on on the right side, we have a logical standby database where your primary database changes are basically getting shipped, but the apply process is different. Like in case of it is basically different, like you are doing the SQL apply operation. So apply means basically we are performing the some changes with the help of SQL queries, and then we are modifying the things. Okay, so the logic in this logical standby database is also there. Like you cannot modify the replicated tables. That means the tables which are the part of your production site, so you cannot modify it, but additionally you can do some changes related to the new tables on the standby. That means your structural changes will be similar. Structure will be similar, but additionally you can create some other tables also on the standby sites. Okay. So that was the thing. So let's move to the next part, that is role transition. Role transition is very important whenever you talk about data guards. Okay. So we have this first point that is called so using Oracle Data Guard, you can change the role of the database. You either switch over or the failover operations. So switch over happens. So basically, we have the two roles, that is a primary and standby database. So whenever we talk about the read-write database, that is your primary database, and whenever we talk about the physical standby database, or where we can perform the real-time query operations and real-time apply, so that is your standby database. So a switchover is like a role reversal between the primary database and one of the it's a standby database, and the switchover ensures the no data loss happens. That is like it is like plant maintenance kind of thing. Okay, so this is typically done for the plant maintenance of the primary system. So suppose you want to perform some hardware changes, or you want to perform some system upgradation on the primary side, so you can do it by switching to your standby sites, and then you can basically perform those required changes or required maintenance on the primary sites. Okay, so that's the logic behind this. The next part is comes the failover. So basically, failover is the worst scenarios comes into the picture whenever we have lost your primary database due to some reasons, or because of some issues on the primary side, which cannot be recoverable, and we don't have any other choice but to fail over to the next available standby database. And in this case, what happens? There are possibility of losing the database data. Okay, so it is like an unplanned situation where you don't have any other option but to switch to your available standby database. Okay, so the next part is role transitions can be done using the three of available utilities. One is called SQL Blast, then we have DGMGR utility, or using the OEM cloud control. Apart from that, there are various tools that people have created, so you can use those also. But the logic, the basic, as a database administrator, we use these most widely used utilities. Okay, so this is the logic behind the role transition. Okay, so let's move to the next part, that is Data Guard Broker. And Data Guard Broker basically looks something like this. So we have the primary system, and we have standby system. And if you look at this diagram, so we can see that this is my primary database, and using the online redo log files, which is basically getting archived, and parallelly it is transferring those archives to the standby database also. So my standby redo log files is coming into the picture, and it is basically doing the so by using the standby redo log, my redos are getting applied. So additionally, we can see there is a daemon processes which is running on behalf of your Data Guard Broker. Okay, so a Data Guard Broker is basically used. Broker is a distributed management framework that basically automates creation, maintenance, and monitoring of your Oracle Data Guard configuration. Okay, so you can use either Oracle Enterprise Cloud Control graphical interface, or you can use Oracle Data Guard command line interface, that is also called DGMGRL. So I have already covered these parts. You can refer my previous videos how to configure DGMGRL in any production environment or standby database. Okay, sorry about this. So the next part is so basically to create and enable Oracle Data Guard configuration, including setting up the redo apply. So these are the various tasks that you can perform using the Data Guard brokers, like creating, enabling Oracle Data Guard configuration, and then you can use like apply service. So all those tasks that you are doing through the SQL command, so you can basically perform those operations using the Data Guard broker. So apart from that, you can manage the entire Oracle Data Guard configuration from any system in the configuration. Then manage, monitor the Oracle Data Guard configuration that contains RAG primary or the standby data. So that means you can use it for the RAG database as well. The next part is simplifying the switchover and failover by allowing you to invoke them using either a single key. So basically, you can perform these operation by single clicks if you are using it a DGMGRL. Okay. Also, you can enable Oracle Data Guard fast start failover using this feature. So to enable Oracle Data Guard fast failover, basically it automatically perform your. So by using this feature fast start failover, basically you can automatically switch over the role of the database whenever your primary database is unavailable due to some reason. So your data guard broker configuration basically is smart enough to identify the issues on the primary sides, and based upon those situations, so it will automatically switch over to the next available standby database automatically. Okay, so so the next part is data guard broker components. We can see it on the screen. So we have various sub components. The main part that is involved in data guard broker is basically a daemon process. Okay, so if you can see on this diagram, so we have a server side configuration that is a data guard monitoring tool that keeps on running with the help of your configuration file along with a daemon process. So on primary or standby side, we will be having a configuration file along with the process which is running. Okay, and using this utility DGMGRL or from the Grid Enterprise Manager, you can access those data guard broker configurations. Okay. Apart from that, accessing the configuration information, you can perform all those operations that we have discussed so far. So automating the uses of your standby database can be, managing of standby database can be done using the data guard broker. Okay, so we have the primary system and we have the standby database. So on the primary side, you will having the separate configuration file which will be associated with your primary sites information. Then on the standby, so if you have multiple standby databases, that means your multiple configuration file will be associated. So each standby will have its own configuration files. Okay, and a daemon process will keep on running, which will communicate with each other, whether it is a primary as or the standby. So all of them will be communicating with each other if the configuration is made in this fashion. Okay, so let's move to the next part, that is data guard protection modes. I think we have already covered this segment in our previous videos, but still I'll cover this in this video as well. So whenever we talk about data guard protection mode, we have the three different modes available in data guard protection. And basically, one is called maximum availability, maximum performance, and maximum protection modes. Okay, so these three are important, you can say, data guard protection modes. And okay, so in some situation, what happens is your business cannot afford the loss of data regardless of the circumstances. And in other situation, what happens, your database may be more important than any potential data loss, unlikely the event of multiple failure. Okay, and in some cases, what happens, we can say some application always require maximum database performance and can therefore tolerate a small amount of data loss. So these are the three circumstances which makes a different data guard protection modes. That means in some situation you cannot lose your business, and in some other cases availability is important, in some cases performance is important. So based upon those three parameters, we have this three different protection modes, and the default mode is maximum performance mode. Okay, we'll look into the deeper on next slides. So let's move to further points. So we have the first mode, that is maximum availability. So whenever we talk about maximum availability, that means this protection mode basically it provides the highest level of data protection that is possible without compromising the availability of the primary database. So, I mean, we're looking at the deeper side also on these parts, like what is exactly happening in case of maximum availability and maximum performance in terms of architectural change and parameter what we will be configuring whenever we are using this feature of maximum availability and all. Okay, so we'll look those part also in upcoming slides. So we are looking at some theoretical knowledge in this part. So let's understand this one first, then we'll move to the architectural diagram. So whenever we talk about maximum protection modes, that means it provides the highest level of data protection that is possible without compromising the availability of the primary database. That means your primary database has to be available throughout the time, and with the data Oracle data guard transactions do not commit until all the redos that is needed to recover the loss, recover those transactions has been either received. So the term either received in the memory or returned to the standby redo log is important. Okay, so that means your archives are getting shipped. That means it should be either written into the memory of standby database or it should be written into the standby redo log files. So once that is done, then you can move your primary database. Okay, and there will be a acknowledgement will happen, like these changes are done on the standby sites. Okay, so if the primary database cannot write the redo stream to at least one synchronized standby database, it operates as if it were maximum performance. So basically, it will try to fulfill the requirement of maximum availability. But in the worst scenario, if it cannot, then I mean you can treat this maximum availability system as a maximum performance mode. Okay, so its primary focus will be maximum availability. If it is not able to do that, then it can move ahead as a maximum performance mode. So this protection mode basically ensures zero data loss except in case of certain double fault, such as failure of primary database after the failure of standby database. So that was the maximum availability. Now we are talking about maximum performance. That is your default protection mode. And whenever we talk about maximum performance, that means it provides the highest level of protection that is possible without affecting the performance. So the performance term is very important in this segment. And so primary database performance will not affect. So our standby database replication keep on happening in the background, but your primary database will work as smooth as possible. Okay, that's the thing. So this is basically accomplished by allowing the transaction to commit as soon as all the redo data is generated. By those transactions have been written to online redo log file. That means the primary level changes is written to your online redo log, and the redo data is also written to one or more standby database. But this is done asynchronous. That means no synchronization is happening. That is, there is no acknowledgement is happening like these redos are reached to the standby database. Okay, that is the logic behind the primary maximum performance mode of your standby database. This then we have this called this protection mode basically offers slight less data protection. So there are possibility of losing the data, and but the performance of your primary database will be maximum, and that's why the name is maximum performance mode. Okay, so the last mode, that is maximum protection. I mean, if you have enabled this feature, that means there is no way of losing the data. But this is like this could be a killer as well, and that means in some situation, if it is not able to transfer your data to the available standby database, and those changes are not written into the standby database, then your primary database will be basically shut down. So this is the scenario, and if you are enabling this feature, make sure that very high bandwidth along with your, I mean, you have taken all measures in order to define this mode of your standby database, because single issue or fault can bring down your primary database. Okay, so all the three protection modes require that specific redo transport options that can be used to send the redo data to at least one standby database. So here we have the summary of different protection modes we can see on the screen. So if you are using the maximum protection, maximum availability, maximum performance, so these are the redo transport options that we have. One is called sync LGWR, then maximum availability, that is sync LGWR, then async. So whenever you are defining your standby database using the log archive dest service, so you can mention these sub clauses inside your service along with your service parameters. So using this, you can define your parameter level changes. Okay, so these are the summary behind. So action with no standby database connection, the primary database need to write data to at least one standby database, otherwise it will shut down. So this is a maximum protection mode, and normally it works with sync of the. So we have the next part, that is the maximum availability. Normally it works with the sync redo transport. If the primary database cannot write redo to any of its standby database, then it will continue to, that means it will try to write the data in the standby database, but up to it will wait for up to some limited period of time. If it is not able to, then it will act as a async mode. Okay, that's the difference between the maximum protection and maximum availability. The last one is the maximum performance, and that is async and LGWR. So along with that, you can also use archive process to perform these operations. So there is no acknowledgement happening between the standby and primary database. Okay, so this is the complete summary behind the protection modes. So now we can see different configuration option that we can use. So whenever we are enabling through archive or process transportation, so what happens? So you can see on the diagram that your logs are basically sent by the archiver process. So whatever the change on the primary side is happening from the redo log buffer, it is written back to online redo logs, and then that is basically managed by the archive process. One copy will be archived as a redo log, and another copy will be transferred through the redo transport over the network, and then your RFS process will receive those archives, then apply will happen on the standby side. So this is the typical diagram you can refer for your data guard configuration with archive transportation modes. Okay, so these are the things that is written on the PPT as well. So the logs are basically sent by the archive process, and then LNS process is not used in this case. Then standby redo logs are not mandatory on the standby database, and data is unarchived online redo log will be lost in failover. So the data which is unarchived, that will be lost. So like it is not copying from the online log file. So basically it is performing the one additional step, that is archive operations once your online redo log files are generated. So in case some issue happens, so this online redo log data will be gone. So those data loss can be possible in this case scenario. Okay, then we have data guard configuration with LGWR and sync attributes. So if you are using the LGWR with sync attributes, so we can use this diagram like we have the database, primary database, standby database. So from the SGA, using the LNS process, data changes will be transferred over the network. Then RFS process will receive those, and it will try to write those changes in the standby redo logs, and then it will send back the acknowledge to the NLS. Then NLS process will acknowledge to the LGWR. Then LGWR basically send the details to the end user, that commit acknowledgement. That is called the commit acknowledgement for the database user. So it is like cyclic acknowledgement is happening from the primary side to the standby sides, from the standby side to the primary sides. Okay. So this is the logic behind using the LGWR. So that your LGWR process comes into the picture. That's why we are mentioning it as LGWR. And sync is basically a synchronization is happening from the primary to the standby database. So you can see the diagram, and from the diagrams, we have listed out some of the points like redo is read and then sent to the standby database directly. And then acknowledgement is needed from the standby database, that is RFS process to the LNS and LNS to the LGWR, then send a commit acknowledgement to the end user. So these are the some of the points that we have covered. Okay, so let's move to the next segment. That is the data guard configuration with LGWR and async operations. So basically it is a little bit of different. So here we don't have the acknowledgement happening. So whatever the changes are there, that will be written directly to the through the LNS process. They will be getting transferred, and along with that, we have the LGWR process is also working parallelly, and those it will be basically writing those changes into online redo log files, and directly there is a commit acknowledgement happens. So there is no wait for like synchronization from RFS process to the NLS and then send back those requests to the LGWR. So this is the complete information about the data guard configuration whenever you are using the LGWR with async operation. That is called asynchronization redo transport attributes. Okay. So moving back to the next part, that is how you can check and modify the current protection mode. So if you are using the DGMGR utility directly, you can run this query like so configuration that we have the first. So once you have logged in your DGMGRL, so you can run these queries, and also you can edit this by running the edit configuration set protection mode as maximum protection or maximum availability. So based upon your configuration, you can modify it. And if you want to know more about these things, you can refer my previous video about DGMGRL. You can get every detail about it. I provided the link in the descriptions, so you can refer that. Then we have this using the SQL Plus. Also, you can modify the protection modes. So very simple commands like alter database set standby database to maximum availability or maximum protection, maximum performance. So on the primary side, you need to basically run these queries. Okay. And also you can verify using the select query that select protection mode from the $V database. So moving further, we have the complete diagram, architectural diagram for your standby database. So this is your full diagram for your standby database architecture. So you can see on the left side, we have the primary database, that is a transactional database. And on the right side, we have the standby database from where you can perform these operations. So the first step is like from the redo buffer, LNS process will read the data and it will transfer to the RFS process. Then RFS process will basically in real time, it will send the data to the standby redo log. Then those apply will happen. Then then we have this acknowledgement will happen from the standby to the primary. And the fourth step that we have, the online redo log will be. Then next part is online redo logs were written, and then after that we have archiving is also happening, and parallelly if there is a gap, it will get resolved. Okay, so RFS process keep on trying to face the gap, and in between we have the Oracle Net connection. So using the network layer, we are transferring those archives. So it will basically depend upon your network as well. Okay. So this is basically a complete architecture diagram whenever you talk about data guard. So basically you can go through all these points like LNS process, basically process of primary database captures redo from the redo log buffer, then it sends to the RFS process, and then RFS process write the redo information on the standby redo log files. So as the numbers are already suggesting these steps, so you can say that then if the LNS process is not fast enough to capture the redo information before it goes to the online redo log files, or if the redo logs are going online, so online redo log files very quickly, then LNS process will read those from the online redo log files and then send to the RFS process through the Oracle Net. So in some cases, what happens if LNS is not able to pick the data as quickly as possible, then what happens, it will read the data from the online redo log files, then transfer it to the standby database. So if your network outage occurs and the online redo log file, redo logs get log switch and data goes to your archive redo log files before it has been written to the standby redo log files, then RFS process will directly communicate to the archiver process and then work for the archive log gap resolution. That means if it is not able to resolve those gaps from here, then it will request to the archiver process. From there, it will try to resolve the gap. So RFS will directly communicate with archiver process and it will try to resolve the gap. So we have the two. So once with any possible way of redo are written to the standby redo log files, then MRP basically MRP or the LSP process apply those. So if you are using the logical standby, then we have the LS process, or if you are using the physical standby, then we are using the MRP process. So using those process, you can apply the archives. So that's the thing. Then we have the additional some parameters like file server and file client. So we define the net service alias there. So using those service, we can basically fetch the gap between the primary and standby database. But whenever we talk about 19C database, so these parameters are not useful for us. Just I mentioned it as a traditional architecture diagram discussion, so you can ignore it. But for the knowledge, if you are mentioning this file server, that means file server can be basically used to define the what do you call it will basically point out the service alias for your standby database, and in the reverse order you can say, so from where it will try to fetch the, so vice versa entry will be there. So if you are defining this parameter on the primary side, so you can your file server will be your standby entry, and your file client entry will be your own server entry. Okay. And in the reverse case also, if you're defining on the standby side, so your file server will be your primary side information and file client will be your standby information. That's the logic. Okay, so let's move to the next part of this architectural discussion. So some of the processes that get involved in all these operations. So on the primary side, we have the LGWR process, that is log writer, which basically collects the transaction information and updates the online redo log files. And then we have the LNS process, that is log writer network server. Basically, it works in two different ways: a sync mode or async mode. So sync mode is basically acknowledgement will happen from the primary, so from the standby to the primary database. So whenever we sync mode is active, so we have seen how sync mode works. So those things are again repeated here. So I'll not cover those part. Apart from that, we have the archive process. Archive process basically makes a copy of your online redo log files and it keeps into your archive destinations. Okay. So whenever there is a gap, RFS process will send the request to the archiver. Then archive process will try to send those missing archives on the standby sites, and then gap resolution will happen. Okay, then we have the standby side processes, that is RFS, very important process that basically its job is to fetch the records from primary side. So we have remote file server, that is a RFS process. So as we have seen about RFS process can get redo data either from LNS process or from the archiver process of the primary, and then RFS process can write redo information to the standby redo log files, and each LNS and archive process that communicate with standby database had its own RFS process. Okay, that means it has on RFS processes, multiple RFS processes working together in order to communicate with primary database or standby database. Okay, so archiver process also active on standby database. So all those archives which is coming from the production, that can be archived to the locally available systems, so using the archiver process. Next is MRP, that is managed recovery process, a very important process. Whenever we run this command, alter database require manage standby database, so using that command, process get activated, that is MRP background process. which performs a recovery operation on behalf of your standby database. Okay. So if you have enabled the data guard broker, so we have this process, daemon process also activates. Okay. So if you have enabled the data guard broker, so it automatically start your MRP process. You don't have to run the commands like above, which we have mentioned. Okay. Then if you are using the logical standby database, then we have LSP process, that is logical standby database process. Okay. So in this case, it will perform your recovery operations. Okay. So that's it, guys, from my end. I hope you have enjoyed the complete journey of standby database concepts, data guard concepts. Okay. And if I have missed anything in this session, please let me know. I'll try to make the new videos about those topics, and I hope you have enjoyed this video so far. If you have any question, you can mention in the comment box. I'll definitely try to help you out, and you can just cross verify the description link. I provided all the previous videos, the important videos. Okay, so thanks for watching. We'll meet in the next session. Please subscribe my YouTube channel. Have a great day. Bye bye.